Well, hello everybody. This is BalorMage, and I am very excited to bring you the new build we are playing currently today. So I got a few things to go over. I'm logged into the character. I've got the path of building up, and I also have a VOD from us running a map last night. Now, we only just got done crafting our items, so we're still leveling up. And I decided to just take all of my Delirious maps and just run them. This is basically an old school EK Nova thing. Now, I've probably spent outside of the Headhunter, which I already owned, 50x or less crafting all of my gear. So if this takes off the way I kind of expect it to, because it's been really good, I will also make videos going over the crafting processes of all of the gear, because obviously if even 50 people start playing the build, the gear to buy is going to get a lot more expensive, but I crafted all of my own and the prices of those crafts really can't go up. So there's no reason this gets too much more expensive, but it is the playstyle of EK Nova. Now I'm still getting used to it, which means I have to play for another day or two just to get used to running around quickly. This is the first day mapping, and I'm still discovering that I'm sticking around far too long because things are clearing very, very well. If we skip through this a little bit, you can see us clearing the rest of the map instead of rituals, which just goes. The EK Nova goes all the way off screen whenever it can, and pretty much one-shots everything. With our starter gear, while we're leveling, we're at 4.6 million single target, which is not incredibly high, but I expect to more than double that. I expect to see this is Shaper DPS, by the way. I expect to see that above 10 for what is a map clearing build. And that means for somewhere between 50 and 80 exalts at most, I think, I will have a 100% Delirious Fractured map farmer that can also boss, that can also just run regular juiced maps, that can also break out legions, that can also do pretty much everything in the game. It'll be my one character that just does all the things. So I'm pretty excited about it. In the next day or two, we're going to put together a super budget version. I would like to hear from people who are looking at it and like, oh, I'd be interested in playing that, but I don't have 60x and a Headhunter, right? What would people consider a reasonable budget? People in that situation, not counting a Headhunter. I'm going to strip the whole character down to nothing in the next 2 days and put together a build. Now, I'm not talking league start build, so I don't want to hear anyone being like, build the whole character on nothing, pick it up off the floor. No, it's still not a league start build, right? I want to hear what a reasonable second, third, fourth build price range would be for most people, because I want to try and set it up so that nearly anyone could do this. And then I'm going to use this build in the budget state of whatever the overwhelming opinion of the budget is, to see if how quickly I can use that to turn it into very expensive things, or maybe something like buy a Headhunter out of it, because I honestly think the budget version of this that we've been throwing together will be very, very, very good for farming. So yeah, you can see this right here is, what are we at? Level 82 zones, metamorphs, delirious maps, no problem, nothing matters, it just obliterates everything. I haven't taken it into any true bosses yet. I've done guardians, but not Cirrus. This is just our showcase of how gross it is, almost. Right, so we don't really need to look in game, although this is what our tree currently looks like. I will go over this. This is a glorious vanity of Doriani. Very important for the 20% maximum life as extra energy shield. As many people know by now, because of this node, all of the life regen that I possibly get also applies to energy shield. So it just straight up doubles it. So whatever you end at in life regen, which for me is 729 right now. So that becomes 1400 regen and change, because it applies to my life and then applies to my energy shield. So it's very, very nice. Now, the only node that's important, I started with any Glorious Vanity, or any Doriani one that just gave me that. And eventually I upgraded into one that gives me this node. That was relatively important because I didn't have any life leech, but we did cover energy shield leech in our large cluster, which, by the way, cost me 1.2 exalts total. Like, I just bought it like this for 1.2x. And this node at the back didn't matter. You can use this one, or there's another one that also has spell damage leech as energy shield. Both of them are good, no problem. Medium jewels, literally 15 chaos each. There's 400 of them online. So we're just after those two notables. This one, projectile damage and cast speed. This one, projectile damage, projectile speed. Super important. Life, energy shield, crit multi. These jewels, literally 10-15 C each. Literally 10-15 C each. No one values almost anything we're putting in this build. It's ridiculous. What Watcher's Eye are we using? Is that expensive? Well, I'm using a minus mana while using Clarity and cast speed with Zealotry in chat. How much is the Watcher's Eye, you might ask? 40 chaos. Everything in this build is cheap. The thread is just a thread. We're obviously just using it to get the divine nodes. They're way too good. We've managed to get block cap and near spell block cap. So we're block capped passively. And then when I pop my one flask, I've got 70 chance to block spells. Now, there's no life on block or anything like that. So technically speaking, you could argue that losing glancing blows actually makes me take less overall damage. But it's not about that, because we've got a lot of regen and life leech and energy shield leech and currently 7,000, 8,000 effective life, which means we don't really get one shot very often. So what we're after is smoothing out the incoming damage so that our leech and regen keeps us alive. So it's quite nice defensively. We'll be filling out the rest of this. I'm very sorry, dude. I'm just gonna D&D. Very sorry, dude. The only expensive item in this one, being the Unnatural Instinct, is maybe 4x. That's like the only expensive item in the whole tree here. Which is really, really nice because it gives us a little bit of block here, all this mana, and the increased effect of heralds, and a little bit of mana reservation. Technically a little bit of curse effect, which is nice, but not important. Now, we're going to have a look at everything that you see here that isn't rare, that isn't unique. I crafted myself, so we'll put out guides on how to craft them. They were all relatively easy. If you're looking at a budget version, you just don't have cull on them, right? Like, that's it. You just don't have cull. To make this out of just Elder and just give up cull, room for another resistance, super easy, super cheap. We can do that ourselves. I'll go over them in a different video. But the projectile speed is important. I still have to divine it to 30. Helmet, again, single influence, very easy to craft. We'll go over the crafting later. Again, I still need to divine it, but very, very easy. Again, projectile speed, important. Both those nodes for projectile speed are pretty much needed to make it feel really good. It was the difference between EK Nova attacking to like here, and it just straight up off screening. We can see from here that I'm attacking down here, and if we walk up, there are blades stuck into the wall. Like, it's the range is that long. Now, we did try stacking it further. We did a lot of tests in PvP. Even adding faster projectiles to the links after the 60% we've got here and the 60% we've got in the notables did almost nothing. So there's some sort of cap at how much projectile speed we're allowed. My assumption is that it's the cap of how long a projectile is allowed to go before it like despawns. I know that was a thing that was added a few leagues ago to stop you like massive off screening. So it appears as if the best thing we can do is eyeball it from PvP, trying to like walk one step closer and one step closer. But every time we took off a 30%, it was very, very noticeable. But with the 2 clusters, the helmet enchant and the gloves, putting on a 60% after that in the faster projectiles support gem did nothing. So like it moved it like the tiniest little bit, like maybe a quarter of what the other 30s were doing. So we must be so close to the cap that it doesn't matter. So as far as I'm concerned, that's all the investment we need to do in that. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying this build. There'll be more experimentation to come. We've only played it for 1 day. So I'm going to experiment. I'm going to push it a little further. We're going to see if we can do fractured mapping on this setup. And then we're going to test the super budget version. So I'll put this path of building in the description, but do know that this is just us in the testing phase. This is only the end of day 1 of mapping. So changes might happen. And if you're interested and you have an opinion, please let me know what would be a reasonable budget for you in the comments on this YouTube video. What's a reasonable budget for your 2nd, 3rd, 4th character? You want to invest in a new mapping character that can also do bosses, that's going to earn you the headhunter you want to buy, or the Watcher's Eye that's disgustingly priced, or like whatever piece of gear you want, or work your way into a build that looks like this that ends up expensive with Bottled Faith and Headhunter and Circle of Anguishes that cost a bajillion exalt. I think they're like 8x each, the current ones that I'm using, right? Like, I want to know what the reasonable starting price is, because it's a little hard as a full-time streamer to know what the normal budget of like a regular player is. But I want to make this build around that budget to then see how that goes for everyone else. So that would be very interesting as well. That's it. I'm going to get going and get started and keep pushing this build because I'm really enjoying playing it and it can do everything, and that excites me. So I will see everybody tomorrow. Bye.